So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we've got a great treat. Star of Neil Marshall's new movie, The Lair, which releases today in theatres and video on demand. It's extremely talented Charlotte Kirk. Charlotte, welcome to the show, my love.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
It is an absolute pleasure. Literally, I've been a fan of your work for many, many years, so to get you on the show is a bonus. And you're British, and it's great representing the British, community where the majority of the talent is. So before, obviously, we chat about this wonderful new film, the last 2 years have been challenging, to say the least. It really has, with the pandemic and other situations. I mean, how have you kept positive and moving forward over the last 2 years?
Just the sheer will of wanting to do what I love and having these movies that I have been dying to make, because as well as an actress, I have my own production company and I, co-write and produce these films as well. So, I'm at the process from the very beginning. So yes, the pandemic and lots of things going on, but my focus was very clear of what I needed to do.
That is awesome. And when we talk about acting, I've always got to know why acting, because it's probably one of the most competitive industries to get in. Can be very sort of image focused as well, and there's a lot of rejection. So why acting, and what sparked that journey for you?
I have wanted to act ever since I can remember. There wasn't really like a defining moment for me. It was just it's just something I knew I always wanted to do. As a kid, I would drive my mum mad because I would constantly be acting. If we were shopping, if I was on the train, I would just start doing a scene and totally embarrass the hell out of her. And she'd be like, "Charlotte, stop." And I'm like, but mum, and just drive her mad. And then it's just something that I've always been drawn to. And then I took acting classes, and then I went to drama school. And then I went to the US and kind of.
And then the rest is history. It really is. Yeah. So when you decided to start out in the industry, did you have a plan in place of what you wanted to achieve? And do you still have a plan of what you want to achieve in the industry?
My plan has always been just to be doing great movies. And great roles, really great roles, which are very difficult to find. Hence why I'm creating my own.
Which is awesome.
Because I know the roles I want to play, and I'm literally, doing the roles I want to do. So that's always been my goal, and just to be getting better and better and doing more and more of what I love.
I mean, obviously, when we talk about the industry and how hard it can be, there's a lot of people out there that obviously see you on screen and see you kicking backsides on screen and performing in amazing roles. But it's not as easy as that. The industry comes with lots of ups and downs, lots of rejections. So how do you keep motivated, within the industry as an actor to succeed?
I would be lying if I said I'm always motivated. Like, there's always ups and downs. Always. Sometimes I feel defeated, but then I get back up again very quickly and go, no, look what I've achieved, and you got to move forward and constantly looking forward. Sometimes I need to actually take a step back and go, oh, actually, no, I've done okay, but I'm constantly looking forward. And I think that's the way to keep motivated is just looking at where you want to be and just laser focus on that. That's what I do.
And was there a point, because obviously when you started out, was there a point of when you actually you stopped and thought, do you know what? I'm actually quite good at this. This is my life now. I think I needed other people to say that for me. So I'd say on The Reckoning, when I won some awards as, Best Actress, that's when I thought, I guess, okay, then I must be okay if I'm getting recognised from, winning awards. So I'd say from The Reckoning. Before that, the other roles, I never think of myself as good. I just always try and be better. In fact, I'm super critical. All the films I do, it's really hard for me to watch. I'm like, oh God, I wish I did that. Oh, that's awful. Why did I do it like that?
But I think that's a good thing. I think if the moment you think you're great, it's kind of all downhill.
I mean, you're not alone, because there's many actors out there that literally do not like watching their own work, because you're sort of always critical on, well, I could have done that better, and I could have done this, and me personally, I hate the sound of my own voice. I hate watching myself on camera. I've literally just hate it. I really, really do. So, starting out, you'll have obstacles to face. I mean, what were the biggest obstacles that you faced as, an actor in the industry that you had to overcome?
I would say at the beginning it would be rejection. Like going up for roles and figuring out how to achieve my goal. Like, okay, this is where I want to be. I want to act. How do I do that? How do I break down that door? That was the hardest. And then, but then it doesn't become easier, because my whole thing was, I'll just do a couple of roles, get it out of my system, and then I'll come back home and figure it all out. But no, once I've done one role, and then it's like, I want to do this, and then I want to do this, and I always want to constantly challenge myself and push myself.
Which is awesome. Being motivated, I think, is key, especially with everything. The amount of content out there now, the competition's got a lot bigger, because there's a lot more things being made and seen on our screens. So let's talk resumes, because I often find this quite funny. And when you build a resume, you put on there special skills, things you can do. Maybe you embellish a bit. Is there any skills that you've ever put on your resume that once getting a job, you regretted it instantly because you thought, oh no, I need to know I need to know to do this?
I mean, I did wing it a little bit at first. I was like, oh yeah, I can ski and I can horse ride. And in my previous film, I had to horse ride, which I had to learn from scratch. So totally underestimated that. So, and on The Lair that's coming out is literally the first time I fired a gun.
Wow.
Which was really difficult. So really, really difficult. And then there I am firing a AK-47. So,
so on that note, let's talk about The Lair, because I've had the opportunity to watch it. I've actually watched it twice, because literally it's just awesome. It really, really is. So it's releasing in theatres today and on video on demand. If you could tell us a bit about the movie and who you play.
So I play Kate Sinclair, who is a British fighter pilot who gets shot down by insurgents in Afghanistan and discovers some disgusting, grueling monsters. I don't want to give too much away. It was such... Sorry, I've just been doing a ton of interviews for The Lair, and I was just thinking, like, it was such fun to shoot this movie. It was so much fun. Of all my past movies that I've done, I was thinking actually The Lair was the funnest yet. And I think because of the actors were a big part of it, it was definitely an ensemble piece. And I think and I hope that translates on film, on the screen. Like, a lot of people will just say it's a fun movie,
And do you know what? It is. It's fantastic. And anyone who's a fan of Neil Marshall as well will absolutely love this film. And it definitely goes into that collection of great action / horror / oh my God, it was like I don't want to spoil it for anyone. They need to watch this movie because it's just so well made. The action in it is just stunning. It really is. And obviously, as you can see from the poster, we've got an appearance from Brad Pitt there on the actual film, and but no, it is just fantastic, and you're no stranger to action and horror. So how does this film compare to your previous projects?
So my previous film before this, The Reckoning, for example, that is also a horror, but very, very different. That's like a drama thriller, but that was more of for me as an actress, more of an emotional challenge. It was a pretty dark movie, but it's very, very emotionally driven. Whereas The Lair is more action driven, which was really still challenging in its own ways because I haven't done this much action before. But then, you know, I've done comedies as well. I've just finished shooting Duchess, which is in post-production, which is a gangster movie. So I don't like to limit myself in genres. I just, you know, want to play. There it is.
And I've got a picture there as well. You see, I'm prepared. But no, so I mean, seeing female leads on the screen is become so important to me now, having two small girls, because I want them to grow up and see people, you know, on screen that they can look up to and admire and inspire them. So how important do you feel it is to have strong female leads on our screens?
I think it's super important. You know, for many years, there's been many male leads, which is great. But I think now recently, audiences are starting to appreciate female leads, and we just bring another element, I think, that males can't, and vice versa. And also, which I'm seeing a lot of older women, which I love, you know, like Olivia Colman, and you know, just play these amazing, sexy, diverse roles, and they're not just playing grandmas, you know. So I love that, absolutely love it. Need more.
definitely more leading ladies.
Yes.
So obviously this movie also stars Jonathan Howard, that's been on this show. Absolutely such a nice guy, and Jamie Bamber for all the Battlestar Galactica fans. You know, how were they to work with on set? Because I've got a photo here of you all together. I mean, what was it like off camera as well as on camera to work with these individuals?
Absolute blast. All of them. As I said, it was so much fun. Jamie and Jonathan are just pleasure to work with. Both very generous actors. You know, they really work off each other and really making sure that we're okay. And, you know, did I do it okay? Should we do it again? You know, just super collaborative. Jamie and Jonathan. Yeah.
Oh, that's really
a lot
good
of
to
fun.
hear. Let's talk quickly about your character, because obviously you're a Royal Air Force pilot, and we see you once again kill it on screen as your character. I mean, what sort of research? How do you prepare for these roles as an actor?
That was so Kate Sinclair was interesting because how do you figure out and get into the mindset of a fighter pilot? I was lucky enough to actually speak with one. And for quite some time, and ask her so many questions of, you know, why did you do this? How does it work? I want to know how you actually do it, which was super useful. But any role that I take, is the first point of call is my acting coach before anything. Susan Batson, who's based in New York, who's absolutely amazing. I think she's, you know, Nicole Kidman's acting coach, and Tom Cruise, and she's just incredible. So any role I take, sit down with Susan Batson and start from scratch. Even if I've written the project, I still like to start from scratch as if I haven't written it, and look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. And then with speaking with this real life fighter pilot was very, very useful. And then obviously all the arriving in Budapest where we shot it, and then actually figuring out, how am I going to do this action now? It's such a physically demanding role. But I think I pulled it off okay.
You definitely did. And Budapest, I've got to say, is such a trendy place to film things now. Like, everywhere is filming. Halo's there now with Joseph Morgan. He's filming Halo at the moment, which is awesome. So having you on this show, I would kick myself if I couldn't ask you a few questions about The Reckoning. Because this film, I've got to say, as you said, it was a horror in its own right, but it was a heavy film. And what I mean by that, it was like it turned your stomach. It was an emotional roller coaster. It really was. So how hard was it to play Grace Haverstock, as it must have taken so much out of you? Because that, for me, is your performance of a lifetime. It really is, because it was just stunning. So, you know, how was it to play that, and you know, how hard was it?
I would say that was hands down my most challenging role yet. It, Coming to set every day, and every scene, pretty much every scene in that movie was, the emotion was at a 10. I had to bring it every day, and if I was just a little off point, it just wouldn't have worked. And obviously I co-wrote it as well and produced it, so it was very at the first film actually that I co-wrote and produced. So it had all of that going on, kind of learning along the way how that all works, and then this learning to horse ride, learning to sword fight. It was a lot, but I'm proud of it. It's a hard film for me to watch, though, I have to say. It's an uneasy film to watch, I guess, if you're just an audience anyway. But just for me, because it's obviously a dark movie, but it's just really difficult for me to watch.
I mean, I've got to say, I used to live in Canterbury in Kent, and there is still a chair there that they used to dunk witches, which a lot of people don't realise actually really happened, and a lot of stuff that happened in the past. I'm not sure if it's exact the same in The Reckoning. I hope not, because wow, they had a hard ride. But
I felt like I had such a responsibility with this role because of the subject matter, and we're telling real life events here. And when we were writing it, it was really hard to figure out the trials where the witches, the falsely accused women, sometimes men, were actually survived. That's the problem, because that's why you see when the trial days, they were still awful tortures. But as you say, the dunking, either way, you're going to die. It was figuring out how we were going to do that. So that was another thing that I thought, it's such a responsibility to tell this story and do it right to all these poor victims in the past.
But definitely one of my favourites. But talking about favourites, is there a project of yours that is really a labour of love, that will always stay with you as one of your favourite projects?
I would say they are all favourites in a different ways. But my labour of love, my baby, is Duchess, which we've just finished, which we're in post-production now. We're editing. Neil's editing at the moment. That is my baby. That's the one that, again, like The Reckoning, I think, was my first writing, producing, and I think really showing off my acting. But then The Lair is just so much fun and so much action. It was just a great fun shoot, and I'm really happy with it, just being a great entertaining movie. But then Duchess, I think, is a very, very, very different genre. Crime, thriller, gangster movie. But I just feel very close to that character. Very, very close. And it was actually one of the most challenging shoots altogether. More than The Reckoning, more than The Lair. It was just tough. I got COVID through the shoot. Neil got COVID through the shoot. It was just awful. But we did it.
Lots of challenges. But when is Duchess due to be on our screens? Do we know, roughly?
We don't know. Definitely next year sometime.
Awesome.
But we're editing at the moment, so...
No, excellent. From the footage, from the images and social media, it looks awesome. It really does. Again, a great cast, including yourself, and Sean is back on screen. Which is great to see. So, have you kept anything from any of your projects? Any clothing, props, anything that's on the shelf, sort of thing?
I always like to keep something if I can. From Duchess, I took quite a few dresses. I was allowed. I did ask. I took quite a few costumes. And The Reckoning, I know Neil took the Pearl of Anguish. And I know.
Oh, why?
I have to ask him that one. But we also took a plague mask, and we wanted Sean's hat, but I think he took that, unfortunately. The epic hat he wore. I know. I know, that was great. And The Lair. I don't know if did I take anything from The Lair. Oh, I took her tag, so
Oh,
that was nice.
that is
Yeah,
awesome. And then
and the locket.
before we bid farewell, I've got to ask. It's a line from one of my favourite shows, which is Wet Hot American Summer. The line is, "If your life was a movie, what title would it have?"
I did it my way.
Okay. Do you know what I would say if you could explain? But you know what, I like to leave it there for people to come up with
Okay.
their own answers. But Charlotte, you've been a great
Yep.
guest. It's been lovely to
Thank
have you
you.
on. The Lair is an awesome movie, and I know it's going to do extremely well because it's so well written, acted, produced, directed, you name it. It's just a great movie all around. But thank you so
Thank
much. Keep
you.
safe and stay super.
Thank you so much.